Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Marie and today it's Botox time. I'm so gonna regret making that the intro. Ever since I started my channel, sustainability, climate change and consumer activism, greenwashing and corporate greed has been the main focus, but right underneath there has been body acceptance, self-acceptance, any kind of mental health and well-being focus. And tapping more into that theme today, we're gonna talk about Botox. We're gonna talk about filler and plastic surgery and generally the environmental and the social impact. This video is born out of a pure white glowing rage because I'm experiencing a tendency that I think is intensely important to criticize. I was recently the receiver of a comment, and now not one single comment could ever ruin my day, but whenever that comment represents a larger shift in mentality among consumers, it's something I think is important to vocalize and put into words. Anyway, the comment read, "I don't know if anyone has told you, but you have wrinkles on your forehead." Ooh. My face does this. Yes, that is what faces do when they have lived 30 years, and you definitely get lines on your face when working in this field that I'm in. Anyway, I thought, why not sit down and actually talk about this? But before we do so, this video is sponsored. This video is sponsored by Ruby Cup. Ruby Cup is one of my longest collaborative partners, and there is a good reason for that. I absolutely love everything that they do. I also love, and I'm very passionate about talking about period products. In my opinion, this is a brilliant fit for this video. Reusable period products has played a very important role in how I view my body today. I have never felt closer to it. I've never felt more appreciative of it. There is a lot of stigma surrounding periods, a lot of shame, and a whole lot of hiding the fact that we're even on our periods. And Ruby Cup is doing an amazing job at neutralizing a lot of that shame. Will the theme of body image and shame be a reoccurring theme today? Probably. Ruby Cup has replaced more than 14 million kilograms of plastic products, and they have donated more than 150,000 cups to people without access to safe period products. Because with every purchase, you donate a cup. You can find all the information you need and guides on how to use their products in the description down below. Thank you so much to Ruby Cup for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into it. This is not meant as a critique of anything that is unnatural. I thoroughly hate with my entire being the discourse that natural is good and unnatural is bad. Plenty of things that are natural are absolutely terrible, and plenty of things that are unnatural can be absolutely beneficial. And I think that's been established to be my view quite a few times. Because I have my legs covered in tattoos and I frequently enjoy plant-based meat substitutes. I also think it's important to note that natural doesn't mean anything, first and foremost. And whenever you see it in advertising, run the other way. And I think often the conversation about beauty standards and how we treat our bodies is affected by this very binary understanding of what is natural and unnatural. I think I want to see if I can attempt a slightly more nuanced discussion in this video. Because the critique of treatments like Botox often can be summed up in, well, it's not natural. And that's not the detrimental part of it, in my opinion. Now, if you're a rookie like me, not having ever ventured into this field, you might also be wondering the same question as I do sometimes. So let's just, for all the cheap seats in the back and myself, get this straight. Botox is a sterile, freeze-dried form of botulinum toxin type A. It's a toxin derived from the same bacteria that causes botulism. Temporary filler contains a polymer called polylactic acid, or PLLA, a biodegradable synthetic material. So basically, Botox is a toxin that's meant to numb the muscle, and filler is adding volume under the skin. We're going to be talking about both today, and I want to start by talking about the main ingredient in filler, PLLA. Polylactic acid is a low-weight semi-crystalline bioplastic used in agriculture, medicine, packaging, and textile. Polylactic acid is one of the most widely used polymers, accounting for 33% of all bioplastic produced in 2021. This is a widely used polymer, often referred to as a biodegradable polyester. But according to this study, although PLLA is considered biodegradable in the body, it's not completely biodegradable in natural environments, especially not in aquatic conditions, aka in water. The study's data review also found that it generates microplastics similarly to, if not faster than, petroleum-based plastic. Now, polylactic acid-based plastics aren't only used in filler. They're actually increasingly used as a biodegradable natural plastic alternative, an alternative to petroleum-based plastic. Here again with the natural, you hear that? but data shows that this material can pose severe threats to exposed biota, aka living organisms. I think the actual wording of the study went something like this. Polylactic acid is compostable rather than biodegradable in a natural environment, leading to the formation of microplastic. Recent research has clearly identified that microplastics originating from polylactic acid are emerging environmental contaminants similar to microplastics from petroleum-based plastics. They are severely toxic to aquatic biota and might be a threat to human population as well through the food chain. Now, I also want to talk about Botox, and I would like it to be known that doing research for this video, I fell down a rabbit hole and I was completely taken back by how insane this is. Okay, so Botox is actually a brand name, like Kleenex. And it's named after its main ingredient, botulinum toxin. And now I don't want to sound dramatic, but this toxin is the most toxic substance on the planet. It works by blocking the chemicals in the nerves of the muscles that tell the muscles to contract, ultimately causing muscle paralysis. The effect lasts around 3 months and has been used to treat a number of conditions, which has improved the life quality of countless people. Because if you only thought that Botox was used as a beauty treatment, you're wrong. From treating spastic movements, migraines and headaches, and certain chronic conditions, and the list is constantly expanding. As a medical treatment, this neurotoxin has been quite effective, and that's why its use wandered into the cosmetic industry, where it's frequently used to correct lines and wrinkling. Today, around 55% of Botox is used in medical treatments, and around 45% is used for cosmetic treatments. But how is Botox made? This is where it gets exciting. Botox is owned by Allergan, which is an American-Irish pharmaceutical company. The market cap of more than $60 billion. And they produce a lot of other medicines as well, but they're mostly known for being the sole producer of Botox. Allergan products account for more than 90% of the market of medical uses of neurotoxins and 75% of the market for cosmetic uses. This type of market share we don't see in any other industry. It's actually quite spectacular in the corporate greed kind of way. But there's a really good reason for why it happens here. Because as mentioned, Botox is based on the bacteria that causes botulism. And for many reasons, companies and governments would prefer that bacteria pretty contained. As such, Allergan has some of the best security in their production line in the world. I am talking precedent protection level security. And it's not because they don't want other companies to snag the recipe. It's mostly because if just a tiny bit of this bacteria got out, it would be pretty catastrophic. Here's how a journalist from Bloomberg describes this process. A baby aspirin-sized amount of powdered toxin is enough to make the global supply for Botox for a year. That little bit is derived from a larger primary source, which is locked down somewhere in the US, but no one who isn't on a very guarded list of government and company officials knows exactly where. Occasionally, and the company won't say how often, a certain amount of the toxin, and the company won't say how much, is shipped in secrecy to their lab. And even less frequently, a tiny bit of the toxin is transferred by private jet, guarded by full security staff, to their production line in Ireland. A study from 2001 in the Journal of American Medical Association theorized that a single gram of the toxin in a crystallized form could kill more than 1 million people. So the security is not so much for the company's sake, it's more so that the American government is terrified that the Allergan production facility will be targeted in a terrorist attack. Because it wouldn't be the first time that this bacteria was used in warfare. This is actually how Botox came to be. Because during World War II, a lot of research was conducted on how to use this bacteria in warfare. And this research led to the accidental discovery that this type of nerve paralysis could be used in beauty treatments. What do you know? So because of this security, Allergan, who makes the Botox, isn't a company that is famous for tons of environmental catastrophes or spills, because that would literally be fatal for oh so many people. And actually the company has been praised and gotten awards for their environmental standards. At least they were awarded one of the top spots in the Newsweek Green ranking. However, I would take any kind of awards and ranking in this regard with a huge grain of salt. It is kind of like awarding Apple a sustainability award, despite the fact that they have slave labor in their supply chain. But then again, we still do that, so. And in a similar way, I think it rings a little hollow when we award a company like Allergan with any kind of environmental praise, considering how much of an impact they have on beauty standards. Because you can't really separate environmental and social impact. Basically, you don't get to be a dick to people, but then a good guy to the environment. We need both. Now, I think the entire production of Botox is crazy. It's absolutely wild, but it's not my main criticism of it. The environmental impact of Botox very much likely do not surpass the environmental impact of tattoos. So for this next part of the video, I want to venture into the social impact. And to do that, we need to talk about choice feminism. If there was any doubt in your mind at any point in time, I am a feminist. Born and bred, baby. Choice feminism describes the freedom of choice that women, but all people, have to do with their bodies as they see fit. It's the freedom of choice, the freedom to wear whatever you want and to be whoever you want to be, and everything that comes with that. That being said, just because I have certain thoughts and feelings about Botox and cosmetic treatments in general, it will absolutely and always be your choice what you do with your body. I'm not going to come to your house at night and scream at you. You get to do whatever you want to do. However, I also don't think that mass corporations, billion-dollar corporations like the beauty industry, like the industries behind cosmetic surgeries and treatments, they don't get to hide behind choice feminism and you go girl mentality without any type of criticism and scrutiny. So I think it's very important that while we all agree, hopefully, that people get to do whatever they want with their bodies, we can still have a nuanced critique that come with the normalization of treatments like Botox, because I think it is so important that we have those conversations. Because ultimately, the choices that we make do not exist in a vacuum. Whatever we do with our bodies, however we think about our bodies, however we talk about our bodies, affect other people in both good and bad ways. What we do in the world simply does not exist only for us. It exists and impacts and affects everyone around us. This is true for influencers and people with large platforms, but it is just as true for people without those things, without those massive platforms, without all that attention on them. However, I would absolutely say that you have to be even more so aware of this fact if you have the privilege of a large platform and people looking up to you. But what we do affect other people. And I don't think it's fair to sit and pretend that you getting your wrinkles removed, or you getting your nose fixed, or you getting new breasts done do not affect the people around you, because it absolutely does. And I think it's important to reflect upon why we want treatments done, why we want to fix ourselves, why we think that small lips or wide cheeks or lines on the forehead or belly fat is something to be ashamed of or hide or change, why we shave our legs or why we wear makeup, why we participate in any kind of conformity. Are you doing this because you want to feel better, or are you doing it because of external pressure? We are all results of the world that we live in. We're not born with beauty standards, and they have changed throughout history over and over again. Sometimes we conform to beauty standards not because we want to, but because of external factors like seeing or experiencing mistreatment from others. And in this regard, I also have to accept and acknowledge my own privilege here. Not that I haven't ever been scolded or scrutinized for the way that I look, because that happens all the time and it happens to everyone, but I am very much certain that it happens to other people more so than it does to me. Not to toot my own horn here, but I acknowledge that I am speaking about this from the perspective of someone who falls into the category of conventionally attractive. Although many people would disagree, other people would agree. Although I have been scolded and criticized and like heard every bad thing in the book about the way that I look, both because I'm a person online, but also simply because of the fact that I am a woman. And there are many other people that present differently to me, that experience this in a much different way. Size and race definitely come into play here as well. So I acknowledge that when you see the mistreatment of others, or you experience this mistreatment, using the tools that you have to change parts of your appearance is a really effective way of making some of this mistreatment stop. In the same breath, I want to criticize these companies, the industry, and the overall societal movement mentality towards beauty standards. I also want to acknowledge that you have the right to make your life easier in any capacity that you see fit to do so. If that means shaving your legs or flattening your hair or wearing makeup to work or doing whatever it takes to just feel more neutral in a certain space, that's what you need to do. But one of the things that has struck me as being so utterly terrifying is the fact that very, very young people, even before they're 20, are thinking about and are actually doing it. We recently had a documentary in Denmark about a beauty clinic that did Botox and filler on very, very young girls. And I was sort of waiting for the shoe to drop when watching this documentary series. It's called stick my smoke or like prick me pretty. I don't know if that is the actual translation of it or if it even has an actual translation, but I just came up with that on the spot, and honestly, I'm proud of myself. And they did these interviews with these very, very young people in high school going in to get filler in their cheeks, in their noses, in their lips. And they just talked to them about like, why do you want filler? And a lot of them said to look like the filters on TikTok and Instagram, because they felt bummed out that whenever they looked on their phones, they saw a certain face, and when they looked in the mirror, that face wasn't the same face. And at no point in time during this documentary was there any kind of critical questioning, was there any kind of reflection or perspective as to, well, that's fucked up that we've grown so accustomed to seeing our faces misrepresented, that we are so body dysmorphic, that we go to the lengths of changing the looks of our faces instead of changing the way that we use the internet and we use these tools online. And until I saw this interview, even though this has happened in my comment section so many times, I didn't have a proper grasp of how insane of a negative impact filters and the way we present ourselves online have had on younger people. And I don't want to sit here and just say, you go girl, because honestly, fix this. Personally, do I think it's deeply concerning that young people are so used to seeing their faces with filter that they want to achieve the same look in real life? Yes, absolutely. Do I think that a lot of people seek happiness in finding the perfect appearance rather than focusing on mental health? Absolutely. Do I think that a really important factor here is the fact that we have had a media industry that for ages, and at least for the last 30 years, have set a standard for how people are supposed to look. They're not supposed to look like real people, by the way. Tabloids intensified this product before Instagram even existed. And is there gender gap here as well? Yes, absolutely. We have to tie gender into this as well, because apparently men get to get grey hair and lines on their faces and look like daddies, while women has to look 21 until they die. I was on an influencer trip. I've been to many. Often I'm the odd person out because I talk about something completely different from the rest of the people, but you often end up making good friends even though you're not working within the same themes or within the same industries or whatnot. That's completely fine. I actually really appreciate getting to know people that are working with other themes than I am. During this event, we had a facial masterclass. I don't give a fuck about skincare, so I was just there. And they told us all the ways where if you stretch and if you like exercise these parts of your body, you won't get like the saggy eyebrows, you won't get the neck that looks weird. There were 20 different exercises that you could do every day as a woman to make sure that this didn't happen to your face. So afterwards, I sit there with a lot of the people from that group and I end up just saying, isn't this a little bit exhausting? Like, isn't it just a little bit exhausting that now we don't have to do anything, but we have an industry that's profiting off of telling people that this is something that we need to do, have to do all this stuff all the time. Can't women just age? Can't we just look our age? Like, obviously taking care of your body, taking care of yourself is one thing, but being so hyper focused on not getting certain lines and certain changes in your face seems exhausting, just like with Botox, just like with the filler, just like, I'm tired, I'm not even a part of it and I'm tired of it. We ended up having a discussion about Botox because one of them said, well, she hasn't gotten any Botox yet, but she's definitely going to, just like a lot of her very young friends has already gotten Botox. And she said this so as a matter of factly that, of course I'm getting Botox. Like, of course I am. I don't want people to see my lines and wrinkles, so of course I'm getting. And then I just like, okay, like tell me about it. I try not to be a judgmental bitch, but like, you know, you are what you are. Anyway, no, jokes aside though. Then she said something that just absolutely broke my heart. She said that, well, when she sees an old lady walking there with her little walking sticks, her little canes, she has like a crooked back and she just has all these years on her face. She can't identify with this person. She cannot see herself becoming this person. She didn't want to be an old lady. She couldn't identify with one day looking like that. She didn't want that to happen. Mind you, if she was 19 years old, I would have just gone, well, yeah, you know, but you're also very young, so obviously this is not a person you can identify with, but she was my age. She was also 30. I've been thinking about this over and over again, that was the saddest thing I've ever heard, because the alternative to not being an old lady with a cane with years on her face is dying young. You can't Botox or filler or plastic surgery your way out of age. You're gonna get there in the end, hopefully. I hope you are, otherwise it means that you're not here. You never look like you're younger. You just look like an older person with Botox. Age is not something we should be scared of or something we should try to hide, something that we should try to outrun. It's the premise of life that we hopefully get to be older. And especially right now with everything that's happening in the world, I could not think of a bigger privilege than getting to be old. And I started thinking about my grandmother. She's in a home now and she's quite old. And she's the most beautiful person in the whole world. Our bodies are our vessels. They take us places. They make sure that we can do the things that we can do. We can appreciate them and love them, and we can decorate them. And going back to a contrast between Botox, filler and tattoos, but at least from my perspective, when I decided to get tattoos, it was because I wanted to celebrate parts of my body. I have had so many eating issues. It's not to hide something away, it's to show something, to appreciate and celebrate something. And this might just be my opinion, and if you have a different opinion, that's completely valid too. But when you get filler or Botox, you denounce a certain part of yourself. And that can be both good and bad, but I think it's important to reflect upon what we're doing. You are hiding age, you are hiding lines, you might be hiding a nose that you got from your mom or your dad that the rest of your family has and now you don't. When we participate in these practices, we hide certain parts of ourselves away. Because whether we like it or not, the way that we look, our bodies, our physical form, is deeply attached to who we are and how we perceive ourselves. But I hope that we can be a little bit more critical and reflective as to what deserves to be hidden away and what deserves to be celebrated, because there is nothing that deserves to be celebrated as much as age. And that's my video. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Take really good care of yourselves.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green, zero-waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!